And it's another Thursday and another week here on the YouTube. The YouTube. I don't know what it's called, but it's one of those things that's you and a tube. And here we are. We are Home Show Radio. I'm Tom Tynan. And for the most part, I do radio and on the weekends. And I've been doing it for 35 years. And I answer people's home improvement questions. One of the constants in this world in the United States is someone's got to have a place to live. And I can help fix it up. I know how to fix them because I used to build them, design them, not necessarily in that order. And I've had a whole career of doing exactly that. And I kind of grew natural to me. So on the weekends, on Saturday from 9 to 12, you can listen to Home Show Radio on Sports Radio 610 in Houston, Texas, or you can stream it, podcast it, do whatever you got to do with it. I don't know. It's on there, Spotify it. All online, and you can go to HomeShowRadio.com. I'm sure I got some of it wrong, but as you hear a giggle in the background, but do not see his face yet, he will clear that up. And then on Sundays, 8 to 11, we have the, wait a minute, you got Garden Pros up there. We also are broadcasting Home Show Radio. Then back on Saturdays, Sundays 8 to 11, Saturdays, Charlie, come help me, 7 to 9, we have Garden Pros. That's a lot of broadcasting we do.
It's a whole bunch.
You would think I have done this before. Okay. Do I Spotify?
Yes, we're on Spotify.
Do we podcast?
We podcast as well. We
podcast?
We don't podcast.
Podcast is my grandmother would say, a podcast. Okay.
Some weeks seem a podcast, but no.
Yeah, we've had a few of those.
Yeah.
How about streaming?
We stream as well. Term? Yes. In fact, It says back here.
At 63 years old, I'm always looking for a good stream.
Back in that lower left-hand corner. See, it says streams at HomeShowRadio.com, so you can go there.
I never read that.
In fact, if you go there, the Home Show Radio stream is streaming. What we do is we take the last couple of weeks' shows and we put them on a rotation. And so 24 hours, 7 days a week. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you just have a Jones for Tom Tynan, that's where you go, as opposed to a Tynan for Tom Jones. If you have a Tynan for Tom Jones, we can't help you with that. But if you're Jones and for Tom, you can find them at on the stream at HomeShowRadio.com. And then when you're doing the show, Tom, we turn that off and we feed the show live. So and I'd love to.
Okay, well, we're at this, and now we're live YouTube, right?
Right.
But Facebook, they just have to visit and like us on Facebook.
No.
Okay.
Facebook, we're not on Facebook anymore. And I'll tell you why, because we figured out the algorithm didn't like this. And so we stopped doing it.
And I still don't even know what that means. Okay.
Me neither. Me neither. There are kids younger than us.
Between you and Elon Musk's ears. Okay.
Yeah. The younger kids know how all this stuff works. And what we're going to do now, we're going to start answering. Yeah, yes. We're here live. So if you got questions, Tom can help you.
No kidding.
And we're happy to do well.
Like it was edited. Okay.
I got that Tom today. Okay. So if you want help with your questions, you can put them in the comment section and they'll pop up on a little window here and we put them up and Tom can answer them. So if you got something you've been wondering with or what to do with a project, we can help you. And that's why we do this every Thursday here on YouTube live. And then segments run on Facebook, but we don't do it live anymore. And anyway, so that's the deal. So go do that. We're also going to answer questions that come from our website at HomeShowRadio.com. That looks like this, and there's a blue Ask Tom button on there. If you click on that, you can ask us a question. You can send us a picture, and we can answer it, and that's what we do. And so we'll answer some of those questions today, too. But first, before we get to that, let's go around the corner and up your block to find out what's going on in home improvement news this week. We haven't done this in a little while. And so
no kidding.
Yeah. Well, somebody's been traveling a lot and I talked to me and I said, we really need to be doing this on the show every week. So here we go. This week we're going to talk about the boom in home improvements seems to be slowing. Go figure. He says this is reported by CNBC. They said after big projected jumps in the first full half of this year, forecasters at Harvard's Joint Center for Housing are calling for renovation gains to top out come the third quarter. They say that the rising cost of labor, construction materials, and difficulty retaining contractors and climbing interest rates could discourage owners from undertaking new or larger remodeling projects. So keep an eye out for that. But even though they say that, the spending is actually looking pretty darn good. He says that could reach up to $430 billion by the first half of the year, which is about a 20% jump, 17% jump rather, over the last year. So that's a gain that outstrips what they were doing before the pandemic, which is only be about a 1 to 3% increase every year. So we're still on a good climb. Only CNBC and Harvard could say, "Hey, we're not growing as much. That's bad." So
no. Then there's something else here on the practical side. First off, Harvard might be talking only about woke home improvements, so we're not sure exactly what category they're in. But right. I work at a college. I know how all these colleges are. That's where all the PhDs are housed. But what the true matter of the fact is during home improvement season, the fourth quarter always is lousy because the holidays hit, people start doing less. I don't think it really affects the day-to-day with the guys in the business because January, we don't even know what we're projecting for that. But starting around the end of January is when everybody always hopes it's going to be a big one. And this year it was a big one. So as far as the industry goes, I think it's still a really successful year for my industry, which is a construction industry. But the fourth quarter always slows down, even in good times, bad times, no times. Once we get to that Halloween mark, then there's repair work, there's necessary work, there's some small stuff. But even in the construction industry, they say there's a supply chain and a labor shortage. Even the labor shortage becomes a problem every year around the holidays because so many people go home for Christmases and stuff because there's such a variety of people that work in our industry.
You may say that, but what they're saying already, Tom, is that home improvement retailers are seeing that who saw huge gains last year are taking hits to their earning as inflation is eating away at profits. Interest rates
well, that's a different story.
And that lower demand rate could exacerbate that. In fact, Sherwin-Williams has cut its full forecast, citing this year's supply chain issues that it expects will be continuing, and that's probably going to impact prices. Their CEO says that we will continue to implement pricing actions as appropriate to offset increased costs.
Well, Sherwin-Williams has had a supply problem for months. You can talk to Rudy at Rudy's Quality Painting, one of our people. The college where we buy all of our paint from, they are backed up into 4 to 6 months waiting for certain colors and paints right now as we speak during the good time. So yeah, probably would not be real good. This, as far as some of the suppliers, it's been really hard on a lot of people.
We considered buying an RV last year, and we decided.
I remember that.
Instead we bought dirt, and decided that was a better place to put the money. And I'm glad we did, because that thing ran on diesel. And so, but
well,
anyway.
Don't say that. I'm starting a diesel program at the college I work at because people are keeping the older stuff. They're not getting the newer stuff. And if you look at agriculture and everything else, now you're right about the price of gas going up and diesel going up. But there's conversions now we're going to start working on with vegetable oils and things. Hopefully that trend will change a little bit because nothing can pull like a diesel motor. But yes, an RV, I don't think, Charlie, even if prices were 50 cents a gallon, RV investing in one would have been a good idea. That's like a boat. It's fun, but it's not an investment.
Right. The point I was trying to make, though, is that we found out from the manufacturer of the RVs that they didn't make any silver ones in 2021 because they could not get silver paint. And so they were all going to be white that year, which was enough to put me off because only my grandmother would drive something that big painted white. And so we decided not to do it and bought the dirt and bought the house.
I take that personal. I used to have a big white Cadillac. I loved it. And everybody said it looked like a grandmother drove it. Okay,
I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Looking back,
it's true. It really
next week, more of What's News. So in the meantime, let's get to the questions you have for us this week from the AskTom mailbag, if you will. This one comes from Kevin in Brazoria. He says, I'm remodeling a small 1965 concrete block home about 7 miles from the coast. And I need to level the existing porch slab because there's like a slight slope on it for drainage. And I guess they're going to kind of enclose it. He says, would you recommend cutting out the slab as currently shown? Or is there a less expensive way to properly level the slab that you'd recommend?
2 ways to do it. If you can have someone come out, actually raise it, level it up using either a foam injection or a cement injection. we have a company that's a part of our team, a concrete raising corporation. I don't know if they go there. You'll have to call them, but they probably go pretty wide out there, because if it's a good enough job, they'll go. And that's one way to bring a patio or freestanding or standalone piece of flat work or concrete to where you want it to go, as long as you're not raising it 3-4 feet in the air.
But
If you are going to just,
I think it's part of. I
yes.
think it's part of the whole slab. I think the slab, that part.
Well,
of
he
it,
said it was. He said it was different on the question when you.
Well,
just
he
wrote
says. Well, hang on. Let's go back to it. Let's
Yeah,
go
go
back
ahead.
to the
Go
videotape.
back to the
He
question.
says, "I need to level the existing porch slab because there's a slope for drainage." Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying it's probably not
It's a
part of the
porch.
house. It's a part different slope. Okay,
Right, because
All
he
right.
didn't say his house slab was bad. It's a concrete block house.
Okay.
So I have a feeling it's a separate pour. The
Fair
other
enough.
thing is, if you have something that has settled and you don't have the opportunity to have someone raise it, or if you're not a candidate for that, what you can do, and don't take it all out and pour a new one, but you can actually pour a cap on top and bring it to where you want and level it out. Because if you're going to do something with it, and if you put a full cap on there and you're going to go at least let's say 3 inches, you can do that, and that's done all the time. And people say, well, do I need rebar to connect the two? What's going to happen if I don't? It's not going anywhere. It's not going to slide off into the rest of the yard. When you pour yards of concrete on top of some other yards of concrete, believe me, it will sit there forever. It's not going anywhere until somebody wants to move it with a jackhammer. So that's the other option, depending how high you want to go. Those are your 2 options. But if it's just a little movement to get it level because you're going to do something with it, some of these concrete raising companies can do it, and we have one concrete raising corporation you can call.
They might be able to lift that up. You bet. All right, next one comes to us from Dyer, I guess it is, in Jacksonville, Florida. He says, Dennis rather, in Sugar Land. He says, I'd like to have someone with your knowledge, Tom, walk around my house and point out things that may need attention or answer questions I have. Do you know of a service that'll do something like this?
No, I don't. And I want people to be, it sounds simple enough. You could get there's a Tom Tynan in every neighborhood. You know what there probably is? If you can find one, it's just a guy that will do it for you. I mean, if you're my next door neighbor, I'd walk around all day, but he'd probably feel bad if I start pointing stuff out. So I'd have to be careful how I present it to you. The fact of the matter is, anybody you hire to come out to do that is going to try to sell. There are lots of companies out there that will do energy audits. They will do roofing inspections. They will do a lot of this stuff sometimes. And what they're going to try to do is sell. So you have to be very careful. I'm not saying everybody does that, but you have to be very careful, because there's no business that could sustain anybody who walks around and tells you what's wrong with your home. If you have a friend or someone knowledgeable, and even if they'll do it for a few dollars, you could probably do it. To go out and hire an engineer firm or something, that would be way beyond what you would need to do to have something like that done. It's a question that's been asked a lot, but there's no good answer, because it's usually someone who is going to sell you a service, because they're going to find some kind of service you need.
Yeah, like even most home inspectors, they put stuff on that list that is so picayune and so nitpicky.
Yeah, and that's for usually buying and selling.
Sure.
To have a person come out with common sense and say, hey, you should do this or this, that's more, I think, what these people are looking for. At least I hope so, because the way it was asked someone like me, because I would come out common sense. I would say, that's not perfect, but it's fine. I don't want you spending money on it, as opposed to, oh, look at that. The code says you have to have 2 nails right here. You don't want that, somebody like that. Just make you lose sleep at night.
In my experience, in owning a couple houses, you don't need an expert to walk around. If it looks messed up or something doesn't look right to you, you call the person who would handle that and have them come take a look. They're happy to come out and take a look and tell you.
Yes.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you have a question, it's like, I think it was Einstein said, a question well asked is half answered. Or is that Socrates? Anyway, one of them said that, and it's true. when you walk around a house, Tom says put your finger in it, tell if it's wet.
Yeah,
but
let's see if it's wet. That's right.
but that's how you figure it out, right? So call the right professional. If you're looking for professionals you can trust, by the way, and you live in the Houston area, this is the place to go over at HomeShowRadio.com. This is our website. Scroll down and you'll see all our Home Show pros listed there for you. And if you're not sure who, but you know what you want to get done, we have it organized. You click Ask a Pro and you can find them by category as well, and that'll move it along for you. All right, let's go to Jacksonville. That's where Dyer is, and he or she says, I'm leaving home for a vacation overseas for a month, lucky. I'm planning to shut down the main water supply to the house. Should I turn off the water heater and drain it too, just to be safe?
No, just all I ever tell people, especially in Jacksonville, Florida, you're not worried about a freeze coming down and blasting all your pipes. You just want the pressure not to be there in case a pipe breaks, a toilet cracks, something like that. It doesn't flood your home for days on end. Just turn the water off to the house and leave everything else alone. Nothing's going to go backwards. Nothing's going to go forward. Let the water heater. It's not going to cost you much to keep that 40 gallons or 50 gallons hot because you're not going to be using it. So it'll pretty much maintain itself most of the time. It'll click on and on a little bit, but not a big deal. In fact, I would even tell you to keep your air conditioning set in Jacksonville, and it's summertime, about 82 to 85 degrees. Leave it on so it will cycle once in a while. First off, cycling is good. It keeps all the oil running through the unit and making sure that it stays lubricated and all the seals don't dry up. But most importantly, it keeps the inside from overheating, where you get cracks in the molding and your furniture could crack, or you can find some mold and mildew growth. I'm not telling you to keep it at a temperature you'll be comfortable at, but that the interior of your home would be, and I would say 82 to 85. So don't shut the house down all the way. Houses deteriorate on their own, and you want it to maintain itself.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the things that we used to do when we went on vacation that we don't do anymore.
Newspaper.
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 Yeah, tell the mailman to hold your mail.
Mailman, hold the mail. Yeah, okay, that's going to work.
Yeah, don't go through it, just hold it.
Yeah, right.
All right. But we don't have to do that anymore. You can just, maybe give your neighbor your Netflix password to make sure that it's working while you're gone, if you haven't already.
There you go.
All right. Mark is in Northwest Houston. I feel bad for Mark on this one. He says, my wife is highly allergic to dust and other things in the air. We have IQ scrubbers. But anytime someone works in the attic, something gets in the air, and it's 3 to 5 days before she can come back in the house. We had the ducts cleaned and new insulation blown over the old and a dehumidifier installed. Should we remove the cellulose and blown-in fiberglass, clean the attic, and then have new insulation blown in? I worry new insulation may just have new properties that'll stir her allergies again. What's your advice on this, Tom?
I'm gonna go really out of the box on this one, and I've done this on homes where people didn't want the access hatch in their home. I would eliminate the hatch 100% altogether. And then I would have someone and you know where I got this idea was Ideal Roofing, who used to do this on people who had homes that were 3 stories tall in the downtown Houston area, who wanted to get on the roof, but a ladder was impossible. You actually put in a hatch on the roof that opens up, and then the contractors and anybody who wants to get in and out of the attic to do whatever service work is done, they go from the outside, not the inside. It has a lock on the inside, and then you don't have to worry about going in through the house to do all of this work. And you can get them big enough if you have to remove a water heater or something of that nature. It's quite big enough to do it. So have a hatch installed and have Rudy or somebody come sheetrock over that drop stair, or just don't use it anymore and seal it up well for your wife's purposes. And I think it would be fine. I think in the long run, that would be a lot less expensive way to go. And when they need to get up in there, they can just get from the top and not the inside the house.
That's brilliant. I think the thing that jumped out.
Well, thank you. No, I like that. Thank you. I don't get called brilliant very often.
Okay, John. Yay. Okay.
There's not a lot of room for brilliant in home improvements.
Yeah, let me get the applause button out here. Anyway.
You're out of buttons, so there.
So yeah, I'm all out of my buttons are all full. That's exactly right.
Yes.
No, but I was thinking the thing that jumped out at me about his question was the thing he said here was that he had cellulose underneath the fiberglass. And I think about how many times you talk about the way that that cellulose will break down and cause issues with dust in the house. And there's no amount of cleaning or filters or anything that's going to get that kind of dust out of the air.
No, and it's more than dust. It has fire retardant chemicals in there. But here's why I don't want you just to go clean the attic up, Charlie. A lot of it could be mental. When she knows somebody's gone in and out, maybe there's a little bit of that on there too, because I've designed and built homes for people who are very sensitive. In fact, one lady, she was convinced air conditioners were killing her. So I designed her a passively cooled home, and she was never happier. Whether it's a mental thing or a physical thing or a little bit of both, that's fine. We need to address the problem and help the individuals in the architecture business and home building business. That's what we have to do. So in this case, if she knows that hatch will never be opened again, people come through the top, then it's going to be one step ahead of making her feel more comfortable. And secondly, she could be allergic to something totally different, and we tell these people to do $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000 worth of redoing an attic, and then it doesn't help. I don't want to go through that. If we know that the problem was when somebody goes up there and comes back down, not only going up and down, but bringing it back down on their clothes and spreading whatever insulation, could be the fiberglass going through the house. We can just eliminate that problem altogether, and then the other stuff doesn't matter. And quite frankly, I think it'll be probably $2,000 to $3,000 tops to put a really nice, well-done hatch by a good roofing company that won't leak, that will make it accessible from the inside. From the outside and not from the inside.
Yeah, they go from the top. That's an interesting idea. All right. But, I mean, if you were going to replace insulation, you can go cellulose. I mean, formaldehyde-free.
I've always told formaldehyde-free fiberglass, but some people, fiberglass is not a problem with health as far as cancers and stuff. They've done decades and decades of study on it, like asbestos, which turned out to be a nightmare for a lot of people. But what happens is it irritates a lot of people's nasal passages and things. So it's still, to me, when I get in a house that's been opened up and we're about to close it up and the insulation's floating all around, I get nose irritations too. So I always used to have to wear a particulate mask when I would go in a home and we were insulating. Some people it doesn't bother, some people it does, but it's not a serious bother. But for her, she might be really sensitive to it. It also could be if you have rock wool, that's like little, like sand almost, that'll get in there and really irritate you too. It's a natural product, but also irritates people. And then when the cellulose, that's ground up newspapers, which turns to a dust, but that has a lot of fire retardant materials in there. And that's borates and things like that, which are chemicals. And she could be very sensitive to chemicals. So we really don't know what the issue would be with her problem.
So you were wearing masks before everybody else. You're a real trendsetter there.
I'm a PPE guy, man. We had PPEs before PPEs were known in the construction business. Come on, my helmet when I was welding and everything else, you bet.
I remember when I was in Atlanta one time on a business trip visiting one of my clients back at the very early days of COVID. And he said, all of a sudden, he says, the supply houses were cleaned out of masks.
Yes, they were.
And all of a sudden, you couldn't get them anymore. So, all right, one more question here before we're gone. By the way, everybody who invested in masks, I bet that's paying off for them big these days, right?
Hey, no, I got a box for sale.
I'll bet you do.
We still have one box sitting in the house, so you can have them.
But you know what? It's funny you say that. I have a little bag of them that I carry with me when I travel because you never know.
Really?
Yeah.
Will they change their mind?
If they change their mind. Or, sometimes, you'll be somewhere and there's somebody coughing up a lung and you're like, I think... Masking up.
Yeah, I don't want to be around those people either.
Yeah, I'm taking
I
care
need
of
more
my
than
health.
a mask. I want a mile distance if they're coughing up a lung. I don't want to be around them at all.
Right, I'm taking care of my
health. I never wanted to be.
Not taking care of yours. So there it is. All right. Got one more question for you here. This comes from Kimberly. It's simple. How do we clean our AC condenser?
For a homeowner to do it, just keep it simple. The condenser is the area on the outside of your condenser unit that looks like a fin, like a radiator on a car. And I don't want you to take it all apart. I don't want you to do a super heavy cleaning on the inside and stuff. It can be done, and if you need it done, have your air conditioning contractor do it. He knows what to hose and what not to hose. But you just take a hose with a pressure nozzle on there, and you clean it from the top to the bottom. You hose it back and forth, and you'll see all the dirt and debris come out, and just hose it around. Remember, this thing's out in the rain all the time anyway, and so it's exposed to the weather. So just hose it off and clean the outside of the coil, and usually that's where most of the dirt is. Now, if it starts to get full of leaves and stuff and you have your annual checkup and they take the top off and they'll show you what's in there, and you could even do that to the inside, but I don't want you to start taking your unit apart, because usually if you just hose around the outside of the coil, whether it's usually 3 sides of it is the coil itself, and always from the top to the bottom, and you'll see the dirt start kind of wash down. like any kind of filter, like a pool filter or anything else, you'll get it nice and clean. And it helps a lot after the end of the summer because a dirty condensing coil can't reject the heat. And then your air conditioning system you think is a horrible problem. And it really doesn't. It's just got schmutz all over it. It needs a good hosing.
Yeah. Now, contractors will come in and use some sort of solvent. You don't recommend using any kind of cleaning solvent or anything, all right? Just
not for
just
a
water.
homeowner. I just want you to get the grass clippings, the dog hair, the just the dirt and the pollution that gets on there. Just hose it off. It does a lot of good.
All right. Well, cool. All right. Well, we had plumb run out of time here. We used up our whole 30 minutes here answering questions, and we're glad y'all could be with us watching this. If you want to listen to Tom, you're going to find him on the radio this weekend.
Is it my turn now? I'm going to get it better this time at the end. 9 to noon on Saturdays, 8 to 11 on Sundays on Sports Radio 610. And before I go on Saturdays from 7 to 9 is the Garden Pros. I got it right this time with Sandy, the host of hosts for all the great knowledgeable guests from all the Garden Pros we have that lined up every week. It's someone fun, someone different, someone very knowledgeable.
And if you're looking for people you can trust here in the Houston area, you can go to our website. I mentioned this earlier. You scroll down, all our Home Show Pros are listed right there on the homepage, and we also have them listed by category as well. And if you'd like to get our question, watch this, we're going to change places. Hey, if you want to send us your questions and put them here or in our daily AskTom videos that we post every day on our website and over on YouTube, here on YouTube, you can fill this form out. Ow, that hurts.
I want to see if I can spin you.
Stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Yeah,
all right.
Sorry. I just noticed that.
Fill that out. And by the way, if you can send us pictures, it really helps us to do a better job.
It does. It helps me
really
a lot.
What we like to, it does. It helps us understand what's going on. So before we go, though, I want to tell you a story, Tom, about how a Ring doorbell notified Misty Schlecky's 18-year-old son in Minnesota who was home alone at the time, but it indicated there was movement outside their family home back on April 21st. Here's what was going on outside the front door.
Come, Ash.
The house is good.
Okay.
The house is good.
Good.
Yeah. It burns off pretty much the... So, they said that we're all good.
Okay. Good. Good deal. Are you alright? You feel okay?
Yeah, it was a pretty shocking thing when I got a notification from a Ring doorbell. And I looked out the window and I saw just hellfire.
Wow.
But yeah, they got out pretty fast, so... So yeah.
Good. Okay.
He's a good kid. I'll tell you what, that's a good kid right there.
No, but you know what? I was going to say, if you something outside in some cities, you don't go running out the door. But he did say he looked out the window first because you don't know who's out there. Right? Don't go running outside going, who's out here?
But he took care of him. He took good care of him. And we'll take good care of you. We'll be back again next Thursday at 4 o'clock Central with another YouTube Live. And be sure to check out some of our other videos here on YouTube. And we'll see you next Thursday.
Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio. Home Show Radio. advice from a pro who knows. Home Show